Welcome to this week's big review, and this week we've got a library from Cinematique Instruments. It's for the full version of Contact 5 and it's called Marble. Now the main use of this instrument is as a rhythmic bed creator, but you can also use it to create pads, playable instruments and as a drum machine as well. Let's get into the technical stuff. It's a 16-step sequencer times 2. So you've got 2 different sound sources, 2 different sequencers, and these can be run together to create sounds. Now each of these step sequencers has 12 adjustable values for each step, and that includes volume, panning, length, tuning, reversing, transient shaping, filtering, stutter effect, reverb feed, delay feed, and time shift. So that's quite a few different elements that you can pack into those individual steps. What happens after that is the audio from these 2 step sequences can then be routed into a main effects panel which has 13 different effects, and these effects can be controlled by the mod wheel, key switches, or by dragging on the interface itself. Perhaps a little bit hard to explain exactly how that works, but if you have a look at the demos on the Cinematique Instruments website, you should get a handle on this quite quickly. In fact, when I was playing with this instrument, I didn't really have to look at the manual at all. I just had a quick look at the videos online and then drove straight into the presets. There are actually 900 presets, so it's quite a lot. And these cover basses, pads, soundscapes, playable rhythms, basically anything for a sort of bed or a starting point for a composition. That's in there as a preset already. So the best thing is to load those up, then play about with the controls and see what happens. So who's going to find this library useful? Mostly I would think it would be TV and film composers who need a quick and easy rhythmic bed with an easy ability to shape the sound with the mod wheel. That said, there are a few little extras in there like the drum kits, which some people might find useful. I can't see any reason why you wouldn't have a Gretsch kit, for example, already, but if you don't, there's one included in this instrument. So what did I like about Cinematique Instruments Marble? Well, to begin with, the interface is very simple, very easy to use. It's not cluttered, it's not too fancy in terms of graphics, it just does what it needs to and really does it fantastically well. As I say, I didn't really need to open the manual. It's pretty self-explanatory on the interface what most of the buttons and dials do. A lot of care have gone into those presets. I could think of some use for the vast majority of them, and the ones that are a little bit more esoteric with a bit of tweaking became useful instantly as well. I also like that you could go into the instrument and you could change any of the aspects of the step sequencer, any of the elements, and the sound wouldn't glitch out. There were no horrible nasty noises or anything. It was really smooth sailing for the most part. There are some things that I would have liked the instrument to do. I would have liked a bigger sequencer to be able to be opened up, because especially when you're playing with the tuning and you're trying to work out those 12 steps up and 12 steps down the octave, it would have been great to not have to be peering closely at the monitor and kind of fiddling those within the sequencer. So a bigger sequencer perhaps for next time. I'd also like some kind of onboard limiter, as sometimes all the effects that you throw at these rhythms, they really sort of overwhelm the engine, and you've got it peaking out on the contact interface. So a limiter at the end of the effects chain, that would have been great. Of course you can put that on in your DAW, but having everything on board would have been super easy. It also would have been good to be able to load my own sounds into the interface, because there's actually only 63 sounds there, which means the instrument comes in at around half a gig, which doesn't seem particularly big for an instrument with this much scope. So it would have been great to put my own sources in there. Perhaps Cinematique Instruments could think about developing an open source version, maybe a more limited version of the instrument, where you can throw your own sounds into there and use those sequencing options to play with them. Overall, I would recommend Cinematique Instruments Marble. Take a look at it at the Cinematique Instruments website and let me know what you think on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you so much for watching. That's just a small taste of the Samplecast, a weekly podcast and YouTube show for sample library geeks and plugin enthusiasts. You can find out more information at thesamplecast.com. Don't forget to subscribe.